much, Jeff, and thanks to the Last Ocean Trust and to the Antarctic Ocean Alliance for even approaching us in the very first instance. This is a really exciting project. And I also need to apologize that I might need to skedaddle here because I've got to catch a flight, unfortunately, back to my children. But thank you for your patience in that. In primary school, all of our children are taught that the oceans occupy almost 3/4 of the planet's surface. Very few people really appreciate that the oceans provide literally 99% of the biological habitat on planet Earth. And fewer still know how empty the oceans are really becoming. Today's oceans confront multiple threats, from pollution, habitat loss, invasive species. But scientists really agree that the #1 ecological threat facing the world's oceans is overfishing. And it was this conclusion that led Oceans 5 to be created, and it was this conclusion that led us to support this project. As Peter and Steve will relay, New Zealand and its partner governments are involved in an effort to create what we hope will become the world's largest and most comprehensive marine reserve on planet Earth. It is a potentially remarkable accomplishment for people throughout the world. By way of background, about 5 years ago, the Commission for the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources, in this audience most of you know it as CHEMLR, they pledged to create a network of marine protected areas in the vast ocean waters around Antarctica. They pledged to do this, of course, by the end of 2012. Today, conservation proposals have emerged for several different areas in the Antarctic region. However, none are as well developed as the proposal for the Ross Sea, and that is a credit to the governments of New Zealand and to the United States. They have, I think, expressed a significant amount of leadership in advancing these proposals. And over the next several months, New Zealand and its partner governments will decide the Ross Sea's future. We firmly believe that these decisions must be made on the absolute best available science. Today's report furthers that scientific analysis and concludes that the current proposals do not go far enough to meet high standards for marine conservation. As my colleague Steve will relay, the draft proposals exclude what we believe are some of the most ecologically important portions of the Ross Sea. Globally, less than 1% of the world's oceans are protected as fully protected marine reserves, and yet international agreements suggest that that number should be much higher. New Zealand is a nation with a very proud legacy in conservation. Over 30% of its land is legally protected for biodiversity. It is a remarkable record of accomplishment that is the envy of governments throughout the world. We have today before us an opportunity to extend that with appropriate leadership from this government and other governments around the world. It is something we are very excited about. And with that, I'd like to introduce Steve, who's going to talk. Oh, I'm going to introduce Peter, who has been, I think, fair to say, the true inspiration behind the Ross Sea for so many of us throughout the world. Thank you for the work you did.